everyone, my name is ZeBirdBrain and today we are learning how to mask our particles. So there's many ways to mask your particles, so I'm gonna try to be quick about them. The easiest way and most straightforward is to use a sync node. So what is a sync node? I'm gonna go here, write sync node, or you can find it in your node library. So the sync node is basically the particle equivalent of a cutter. I take it, I connect it here, nothing happens because it needs to have a shape. So to insert the shape, you can use any kind of region, so 3D or 2D. In this case, I'm gonna use a planar region. And now I only have my particles appear on a square. Hooray! So if I take that square and I go into the show control button, I can then change how much of my particles that I see. This is very different than changing the planar region that you have in your sprite emitter. So to demonstrate, I'm gonna get my animation tool here, turn it to animate off. I'm gonna get my planar region, go to a frame where there's lots of particles, and I'm gonna make it shrink. And I just wanna show you how close together the particles will get. You see, they're very close together now. This is because when you create your particles, when you emit them, it says that there's, for example, 50 particles created and stuff. This is 50 particles created within your sprite emitter's region, right? This is not the same as having something mask them. So I'm gonna get my particles to be into a large enclosure again, and then I'm gonna get my sync just to show you the difference. If I get my sync instead and I shrink it, it doesn't shrink how the particles are created, it just shrinks which one is allowed to show up. So this is the difference with playing with the sync's planar region and the sprite emitter's planar region, okay? So this is one way to cut them. You can also invert it. That's the only thing you can do with it, so it's a pretty simple parameter to play with. So that's it for the sync. I'm gonna unconnect it and I'm gonna show you another way to cut your particles. You can cut them with a cutter, believe it or not. So I'm gonna use this animation I did for the grumps as an example. Alright, so first make sure that your animation is appearing behind your particles because you don't want to hide them. And then I'm gonna get my drawing from my hair. So I'm gonna click on it, press O to find it in my timeline, and I'm just gonna make an extra connection and just bring it here in the meantime. I know, it looks stupid. So then I'm gonna use a cutter and I'm gonna connect it here. And then in the mask, what I'm gonna put is my extra connection that was my hair. Alright, so just for the example, I'm gonna disconnect the rest of my animation just to show you our system. I will invert my cutter because this is my hair shape, right? So if I put it in my cutter, now the particles are allowed to appear everywhere except my hair, which is the opposite of what I want. So I'm gonna invert it, and now my particles are showing just where my hair is. Alright, I'm gonna bring back my animation, put it behind, and then invert it so that my particles show up just in the hair. But the problem that we have here, and that is a problem that you're gonna have in your animation too, so that's why I blend it. It's because my unicorn hair layer is actually all of this. So you do need to make sure that what you're using to cut your particles is actually really the exact shape that you want. So in that case, I don't want to get the horse's head. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use another cutter to cut away the horse's face of my hair. I swear, using Harmony is just using a bunch of cutters all the time. I'm gonna get the layer of my horse's face, and then I'm gonna put it in the cutter. And there you go. Now you have your particles appearing only in your hair and not over the horse's face, which is great. Another thing you could have done is just put the particles between the hair and the face, but this is not always possible, so I just showed you the most complicated way to solve it. So basically, let me repeat. If you want to mask your particles, you can use a sync node that is gonna make your particles appear under only a certain shape of a planar region. You can invert that sync. Or you can also use a cutter that I have here. So I'm going to put the cutter here, and I'm going to use the shape of my horse's hair in the cutter, so that now they only appear within my horse's hair. Gorgeous. But then I was facing a problem that everybody has when they do these kind of particles, is that actually in my animation the hair was behind the horse's head. So what you can also do is simply just take a cutter, and I'm gonna cut my hair shape with my horse's head so that what I have in my cutter is actually this. And this is what I use in my cutter for my particles. There you go. This is how you can mask your particles. Have a nice week!